You're listening to the Midwest Coven cast. I'm Susie.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Marilyn.
We're three modern pagans stumbling through life and honoring our craft.
Join us in conversations about, well,
just about everything.
And we hope that you enjoy this week's episode. Susie is about to light the black flame candle.
I didn't even know we were on, and I'm sitting here clearing my throat.
Welcome back, Coven.
Hello, guys.
So we're getting started because, as, modern suburban drama entails, the last couple of times we've done this, my mower guy comes.
Yeah,
and so,
we're
trying to beat him. We're trying to beat him. And it's like a game at this point. Is he going to come? Is he not? Are we going to have to pause?
So
we're
halfway
just not
through,
sure.
when he comes and it starts up in the background, we're going to actually leave it in there and be like, all right, here it is. We called it.
Dun, dun, dun.
I guess that's kind of like mom life,
Unpredictable.
Where drama is unpredictable and your lawn guy might be here at any time.
I feel like with mom life, there's going to be drama. You just don't know when it's going to show up. You don't know, if you should start your shit now or you should wait for the drama to happen and then start your shit.
But it's not sold to us that way, right? As women, they're like, oh, it's the best thing that's going to ever happen to you.
But, it's peachy keen and love and cuddles all the time.
Right? Oh, yeah. They don't ever kick and scream and hate you. Ever. They don't feel like crap when that happens.
Dylan's on
it. Good.
Well, I shouldn't say Dylan's on a roll on, not loving mom, but he's been on a roll for a while.
Oh, no.
The past couple Mother's Days, I've spent crying, so we'll see how this one goes.
Oh, God. That boy. It's funny, though, because when you're a kid, I don't think that you realize how much your actions really do hurt your parents' feelings. because they're people, too. So when you say, I hate you, Mom, it's like... It just kills your heart because you love them so much and you want everything in the world for them, and then they just hate you in that moment. It's like, God, what am I doing? But at the same time...
see, now Dylan's past the whole I hate you mom thing, and now he's on the my family doesn't love me at all.
Oh, God.
They never have time for me. So now it's the guilt tripping, which makes it worse because now it's not just like, oh, I hate you. It's I don't feel love and
everyone hates me.
So I think this kind of reveals a lot of reality versus what you thought it was going to be like. So, I don't know, tell me more about that. So you talked a little bit about Dylan's attitude, and then we've talked a little bit, too, about his, ADHD and things like that. So there's challenges sometimes that you don't always entail you're going to have.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, before I was a mom, I guess because I didn't have ADHD or any, diagnosed anyway growing up. We didn't really go to the doctor unless we needed to, or it was just a regular checkup. And so having Dylan with special needs, I didn't know, how much of a struggle that was going to be because a lot of people didn't want to believe me towards the beginning, it seemed like. We would go to the doctor and tell them his behaviors and his mannerisms, and he would be okay for the 5 minutes that the doctor had us in their office, and they'd be like, oh, he seems okay. Or boys will be boys, or, oh, well, he made eye contact with me, so he can't be special needs because we made eye contact. Just little excuses that, they didn't want to hear the real experiences that we were living at home, that they just, disregarded it to, I don't know. So just the advocacy that you have to hold for your kids, it's how stupid the system is. That's what I need to say. That's what I didn't know before being a parent, and being a parent now and having to, fight through that and stick up for your kid. It's a lot different than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's probably always that challenge with parents. There's that push and pull. What do you teach them? What do you not?
I'm sure mom probably experienced that a little bit with Scott growing up because I'm sure she didn't anticipate him having the issues that he had. But at the same time, I remember her breaking down and just feeling awful about, some of the things that she had to do because it was just she didn't want to have to take him in and, put him on all those tests and have him on all these wires and stuff. I remember seeing a picture of him, actually, when we were cleaning out his room the other day. We found a picture of him all strapped up, and he just looked so mad, just sitting there looking at the camera hate being here right now. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that poor boy. But, like, you know, as a parent, you want to try to do what you can to help them. So I'm sure that she wanted to take him in to get, you know, him checked out, figure out what's wrong, what we should do to help. And then at the end of the day, when those things aren't working and they're not helping, it's, like, so frustrating as a mother, I'm sure, to have to figure things out again from scratch, and with the advice given from the doctors that, you know, isn't really what they need. Like, it's hard, I'm sure. Like, I couldn't imagine. I'm so sorry.
Between
like,
helping and, like, what's not helping, and
Yeah.
trying to make those decisions on the information that you had it's difficult.
Yeah,
you know?
like, because I'm sure that there were some of the
Navigation.
things that, you know, were told mom to do that she did not want to do, but she did, and then at the end of the day, sometimes it wasn't what she wanted to truly do, and it didn't help, and so she felt bad for that, and, you know, it was just, being an adult can really suck, and it's one of those things that when you're the adult, it sucks the most, because,
Well, you just don't know what you're going to do that's going to sort of have an impact on your kid, right? So
well, that too. Like, you try to do everything you can to help them, because you obviously, like we were talking about, you want the world for them, but then you don't know what you're doing, if it's going to positively or negatively affect them, and, like, you want to give them stuff, but, like, you don't want to give them too much because you don't want them to be spoiled. You want to, like, restrict their behavior so they're not an asshole to everybody, but you don't want them to, like, be killed in their internal spirit and not explore. So it's like, oh god, where's this medium?
It's like, you can't shelter your kids, but you have to keep them alive. Well, fuck, there's not really an in-between line there. Like,
you either can't jump off of that, or it's one of those things.
I think that sounds exhausting.
It can be.
Yeah. Well, in my case, anyways, just, like, having a special needs kids, it doesn't just end with, like, knowing that they have special needs, because then you have to find a special dentist. Like, you can't just take them to the normal care, and then they don't tell you who you can take them to. You can't take them here, but you know,
there's no
where can you take them? Figure it out yourself.
It's probably not covered by your insurance. And that's one thing that I've noticed too, is that I think that sleep dentistry needs to be covered by insurance, because there are way too many people that have way too much crap in their mouth that needs to be fixed, that they're too afraid to fix because they need to be put down for sleep for it, and they don't get it covered on their insurance, including, you know, kids with mental health needs. You know, it's like, if they could get that covered on insurance, that would be really nice. I don't know if maybe there are insurances that do cover it, but I just know that was an issue on mine. Like, I want to go to the dentist and get my stuff taken care of, but man, I'm too afraid. Like, I need to go on, I think I'm going to need to go to sleep for all my stuff.
My dentist doesn't listen to me. I go in there and tell him what teeth are bothering me, and he wants to work on the other teeth anyways. So, like, it's just a...
That's weird. I have a different dentist.
It's so that they get their money. We'll do these, and then next time we'll schedule you to come back, and then we'll do these other ones, and then we'll get around to the ones that you actually are worried about.
Right, because then they can get you to keep coming in, right?
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, true.
It's a scam.
But no, when it comes to, like, the whole reality versus, you know, what you think mom life is going to be. So I remember when I was pregnant, two things. I remember the What to Expect When You're Expecting app and the movie. So I don't know why this is just coming to me, but, like, so that movie, there's, like, so many different angles that they come at it with the women on there. So, like, the movie is basically about a group of women that become pregnant around the same time. One of them is actually adopting around the same time as these women that are, you know, giving birth. So they pretty much give you, like, an aspect of receiving a child on all different levels. And so, like, there's one girl that's just going through a completely miserable pregnancy, and everything is just hurting and exhausting, and da-da-da. And then there's this other chick that's just, like, walking on air. She's, like, in high heels, wearing summer dresses, and da-da-da. So I remember in my mind, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make that my experience. Because
You're just going to choose that experience?
Yeah. I was like, I'm just going to make that be the way that I'm going to be pregnant. And I mean, totally, obviously, there were moments that were there and moments that were not. Like, but it was just funny to me in that moment watching that movie. I thought that to myself, like, oh, that's the kind of experience I want to have. I just want to be walking on air like one of those pregnant women that's just, you know, beaming.
I was that way more so with Dylan than Levi. Levi, I had so much nausea and, like, dry heaving all the time, every day.
Oh, man.
But Dylan, I was geocaching and climbing mountains, like, when I was 9 months pregnant, and just, like, whatever.
That's not just geocaching.
Geocaching, we need to go geocaching, and it's where you
go
like
find stuff, right?
Yeah,
And
you use
scan
like
them.
there's apps and you use GPS locations and like clues. It's like a worldwide scavenger hunt, and people hide shit fucking everywhere.
I've kind of seen stuff like that before. I think I saw like a darker version of it on a movie where like people were looking into like solving problems here, and then it would lead them to a clue another place, and then it ended up like leading to another
We
clue.
should geocache some of our stickers somewhere.
We should
take a road
geocache.
Ooh.
You know, that's a really good marketing ploy. I should start geocaching again and hiding like our little
Things
podcast
there.
advertisements and all.
Oh, yeah.
Geocaching to come from Midwest Coven Cast.
Business cards for everyone.
I've never heard of this before. Like, honestly, that is such an interesting... I mean, yeah. I've kind of heard of the concept, but I've never heard it called that before and never known what that was.
Yeah,
So.
I used to be really into it. Like, I've been in... Like, I was trying to get all the states at one point, and then I was trying to...
I
like,
want to travel all the states. That's like a bucket list
But
thing.
yeah, you can get like different badges. Speaking of badges, sorry, now we're gonna have a whole different conversation. I guess it's kind of mom related.
Yeah, whatever.
I enrolled myself to be a Spiral Scout leader. So we took Dylan out of Boy Scouts. It just wasn't a right fit for our. It wasn't a good fit for our family, I guess.
Spiral Scouts is similar.
So Spiral Scouts, it's a lot more pagan friendly. It's because Scouts is more Christian dominated organization. So this one is non-secular. I don't know. The one that's non-deity based.
Right, so they're kind of
secular.
more
Secular.
nature-based.
Yes, it's a more nature-based program where it's secular and you can earn badges. It's unisex also, and like instead of having it,
What's their age?
there's less age breakdowns. I think it starts from 3 to 18. So I'm gonna get Dylan started right away, and then like get the kiddos started eventually. And
I'm sure Kelly would love that. She loves being out in nature and just like getting into
Yeah, she
everything.
likes being outside.
I gotta
yeah,
watch
we
them
really
so I can
miss
put it all
being
in her
part of
mouth.
an organization, but we, like I said, it was hard for us because some of the badges were like going to church, and it just seemed discouraging for our family because we didn't want to go, like, okay,
wasn't
well,
in
let's go to
alignment.
church, but like.
Just go to earn the badge, not go because we're in it. Yeah, that's not the right way to learn to live life. Yeah, that's true. Teach them how to, go and do the things that you want to do and be in it.
Yes.
Don't go and just do things to earn a badge just because you want to earn a badge and now you have a badge.
Yes, and I think that was a lesson that we like had to teach him on our own. Like, like it was. This is a great society, and it was a great group, but like I said, the way we live our lives, it was not a good fit.
Yeah. I think that in some ways comes back to, it reminds me of Dylan, like, I think, like, some of the fit, too, was, like, they weren't necessarily always, they didn't sort of compromise for him. You know what I mean? He needs different things than some kids do. And, like, it seemed like a lot of times when you talked about that group, they weren't always very accommodating.
Yeah, it was kind of a like one size fits all space. Not that that's against any way that they do things, but when like
but it
Dylan
doesn't always work.
Especially the bigger pack meetings. The bigger pack meetings where like the troop leader would be in front and all of the boys are supposed to be expected to sit and listen and like they do interact with the kids at that certain point, but they have to wait their turn and sit and and that's not Dylan. Dylan's not going to sit there and listen to one person and be in his age group. He was the youngest when we were in Scouts, so he was up in the front row.
Yeah.
Well, even when he was in school, he was in the back of the class because he gets overloaded so easily that like it's easier if he's further away from where all that's happening, And so it just, I don't know. It just. We're just over it. Yeah. And now we're doing our own thing. But yeah, that's just kind of how a lot of spaces are having a special needs kid.
Yeah.
You got to find ones that work for you and ones that don't. And some of them I think would work if we waited it out longer, but like we don't have time for that in our life right now. Yeah. We don't have to push through the, I don't know.
Yeah.
More the meltdowns and the breakdowns to get to the good stuff. We're just going to try and find good stuff in a different direction.
That's good, though. That's like, I think that's a very healthy approach to that. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like one thing that I've kind of learned since becoming a mom is that, like, yeah, like, you know your kid like no one else knows your kid. Like, I mean, granted, obviously, like, the people, I mean, you guys know my kid pretty much as well as I do, because around you guys as much, but I'm just saying, like, you know, but as far as, like, the outsiders from your, you know, everyday life, they're not gonna really know, like you said, you have to be the advocate for your kid because you know them better than anybody else, especially when they have, like, those special needs like that. Like, it's that much more important for you to be there for them and then know that there is a person like that in the world for them, because, yeah, the world is not very kind to some. It's one of those things where it's rough to be their friend but also be their guide. So,
well, I know for me, like, on my side, it was hard because, like, I struggle with my own mental health, and, like, even before I had mental health advocate or whatever, I struggled with advocating for myself. Like, I don't speak up for myself and, you know, go into someone else's space, like a doctor's office, and tell them that they're wrong. Like, that's not, you know, that's not the way I was raised to do things. So I was raised, you know, you go into their space, you listen to what they have to say because they're the expert and they're the ones that have the knowledge here and all this. So it kind of took me a couple of years being a mom to realize that I have to push back for my kid and be like, no, like, what you're saying is not right, and
this isn't what's not working, or this is not what's working, and this is what I experience at home. So
yeah.
Well, I think it's valid to want, like, medical professionals to, like, believe you, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're in there for some nefarious reason. Like,
but no, that is so speaking of doctors and stuff, so that was one other thing that I kind of was, so before having a kid, kind of the reality versus what it was actually like, I was really, really nervous about my body after baby.
Bouncing back, or just
would
move around?
Yeah, kind of. Well, because, I mean, I was worried about my hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Everybody worries about that. I'm like, because, I mean, if you think about it, that is a huge...
With Dylan, yes, I would say I was, like, you don't know...
It's a scare, man. Like,
you don't know if you're going to tear or not.
That.
And, like...
The concept to me just seemed very, like, unbelievable. Like, how does that even happen?
Come out of that, and then it goes back
to normal, you know? How does that even work? But it does. It goes back to normal, which is nice, because it's funny, but they all reassure you, and they're all like, don't worry so much about that, and da-da-da. But, you know, as a woman, you worry about that. You're like, you wonder.
And that is so... But here's what I think is so misogynistic about that line of thinking, though. Like, it's... What is at the roots of, that?
I know, but honestly, though, it wasn't even for that, though. It was really me. Like, I, as a person, as a biological being, was just very intrigued by how that process was going to work and how it was going to actually pan out.
Well, I think there's, like, interest, but then there's, like, worry. Like, those that worry about it and they, like,
I was worried I was going to be wetting my pants all the time. I was worried it wasn't going to go back to the normal.
We have lost the game, ladies and gentlemen.
Mower!
Oh,
hi! Here he is.
We're going to take a short tea break and wave at the lawn guy. And we'll be back momentarily.
Dun, dun, dun.
1 hour later.
So, ladies, I think the mowing has ended.
Maybe. I'm questioning it, though. He might just be in the front.
He does that sometimes where he'll, like, take a break and then he'll start back up. So we'll try to get as much in as we can.
Had to move a stick or something.
It'll be all right, you know? Make it work.
So I have to come back to this because I haven't really, like, said this before, but I think it's kind of another thing that people worry about during birth. And so basically in the hospital, they asked me, you know, do you want the mirror?
Oh, yes, I remember.
And at first, I was thinking to myself, no, I'm not going to want to see that, you know? I already can imagine it's just going to be gross and it's just going to freak me out and that. No, I wanted that mirror. As soon as they offered it to me, I was like, yes. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see that shit go down. You can never see your body go through something like that ever. Not ever again, obviously. I mean, if I have another one. But, like, yeah, it's like a once-in-a-lifetime experience sorts of thing. So you want to see it. And definitely I recommend it to all the ladies to watch.
But you were so preoccupied though.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, so the reason why I was a little hesitant to want the mirror was because of the other scare that I had was poop. I heard it from all the people that, you're
probably gonna poop.
You're probably going to poop. When you're
pushing.
Determined
not to.
Yeah, I'm not really determined not to, but I was really, really hoping that I wouldn't. I didn't want that to be a part of my experience if I could avoid it. And so anyways, the mirror's up there, and I'm watching, and I don't think it really was poop. They told me it wasn't, but it wasn't something that was like clear or white or some sort of a color that I wanted down there during the process. I was like, just wipe that away for me. And they did. They wiped it away for me, and it was fine. And then the rest of the whole process went as it went, and I didn't poop. I did not poop.
I didn't poop with Dylan. I didn't.
It might have been poop, and they just were lying to me, though.
Yeah, that's what they say sometimes. That they clean it up for you, and they just tell you don't say anything about it. So I didn't feel that I pooped with Dylan, because I remember, like I said in my previous episode that we talked about this, that I pooped. I went in the bathroom and pooped, and the nurse came in barging in like, "Why are you pooping? You might be having your kid in the toilet." Like, no, lady, I'm laying poops here. I haven't had a kid before yet, but I know I've done this a lot in my life.
But you know what's really messed up though is that during the process, what they told me is like they're like, "Girl, you gotta just basically shit it out. You gotta act like you are taking
Bear
the
down."
shit." Yeah, like they were like, "Dude, just push." They're like, "Push like you are taking the biggest shit of your life." And that's when she came out. As soon as I let it go, and as soon as I just was like, you know what? If it happens, it happens. And she came out, and no poop came out. So I was so happy for that. But at the same time, like when you're doing it, you just gotta act like you're shitting out a kid.
I pooped a little bit with Levi, and Trevor just cleaned it up, and that was the contraction I had before I was actually like aware that he was coming right then. And so I pooped a little bit, Trevor cleaned me up, and then I was like, okay, let's get in the pool, and went to go get in the pool, and I lifted my leg, and his head was right there, like I felt it, and so I was like, okay, I just leant up against the wall, and Mom came in, she's like, do you need anything? And I asked her to get me the mirror. That was the only thing that I asked for. I was like, get me my hand mirror out of the bathroom, and I put it under me, and I needed it for me so that I knew how to control my breath, because I needed to know how fast or slow I was opening, I guess. Like, because I was my own doctor at that point when I had my home birth. I wanted to watch and see if I was going to tear. I was going to, slow down my breathing a little and relax more into it. And so, like, I researched enough into those things that, like, I wanted to watch to know all that, and so it was.
You knew what to look for and what to expect, and
and it was magical.
So I guess with like your experiences now, like obviously I can't speak to a lot of this because I am not a mom.
But you've witnessed 2 births now.
I have been in the room for 2. Yes.
So what is your take, being a person that has witnessed 2 births? I mean, I've heard you say that you probably would not want to go down that path.
No. Best birth control ever.
It doesn't stop at the birth either. There's that trauma, and then all of the...
There's a lot of responsibility, and I like being sort of free to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I just don't... But I love kids. I can be around them for like several hours, be fine with it. I could watch them overnight.
You too.
I'm good with kids. I just don't know if it's something that I would want the responsibility for. On a permanent basis. Yeah. Like I enjoy being with Kelly and Levi, and
I feel that way sometimes.
Like, now you can go away.
It's true. It's one of those things that, like, as a person that before. Being a person before I had a kid, I was very much that way. I was like, oh man, it's great to be around them for a little while, but it's so great when they go home. So I can totally understand.
My personality is just like natural auntie, but you know what? We are an untapped resource. Moms, you get yourself an auntie friend.
Oh, yes.
Get yourself an auntie friend, because auntie's going to come over when you're losing your shit so you can take a shower. She'll watch your child for you. She'll feed them a little sugar. The kid will have a great time. She'll wear them out for you. She'll watch them overnight so you can get you some, Ants are an untapped resource. So you got to find someone like me who loves kids but just doesn't really want her own. Because then we just rent yours for the night. It's a win-win situation.
It totally works. It really does. Like, it's one of those things. You're not lying.
Yeah, having a tribe definitely helps when you're being any
100%.
mom or dad or any parental being. Having a tribe is...
What's that saying? It takes a village.
Yeah.
I have always said, though, like, I would consider maybe adopting someday if the circumstances were right. I don't know if I foresee myself doing it, but it is something that I would consider if I ever wanted a kid, because a big part of it is I don't want that body experience. I watched it twice. It did not look appealing. Hail to all of you who have done it. I mad respect.
Pregnancy was a really weird feeling. Like, not just the birth part, but like just being pregnant and the fact that there's another life happening in you, being created, and like...
I remember being at the point when the flutters first happen, like, because you don't know, when you're first pregnant, you don't know what to really feel. Yeah, you don't know what that feeling is. You, like, ask
You're like, is that just a burrito I ate earlier, or was that the baby?
Yeah, literally. And it's like, I don't know. But then after you know what the feeling is, like, I'll never forget, there was a spot on my ribs that she would always jam her foot into, and I can always feel that one spot on my ribs and remember what it felt like for her foot to be pushing out right there. And it was such a strange feeling to have a body inside of you.
Like
squirming around all the time. Like, oh.
So, given like the sum of your experiences as moms and pregnant people and all of that, what are some things that you wish you would have known before you had a kid that was I don't know, maybe a rude awakening in some respects, or just certain advice that maybe you wish you had?
Yeah, so when I was pregnant with Dylan, like, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be to get the birth that I wanted, I guess.
Yeah.
So, like, going into that experience, just, I guess, expecting that they were going to help me with what I wanted and achieving, like, the most natural birth I wanted. I was kind of interested in water birth then, but, like, the doctors didn't provide it, and there wasn't space for it in our hospitals, and... So the limitations on what my experience could have been versus what I thought it could be, I guess, I was unaware of.
That's a very valid point, because I do remember, like, there was that part of me that appreciated the fact that they did have such programs lined up for me to be able to just kind of follow suit and know what to do and know what to expect and know this is what's going to happen, that's going to happen, da-da-da, and then follow suit to it. But at the same time, like you're saying, they don't really open you up to the fact that, hey, you could go this route. You could actually have this as an option. That they leave all of that to the person who research on their own, which is fine and good. But at the same time, a lot of us women don't really know all of those different options until
where the resources are.
And exactly,
you don't know what you know until you don't know you don't know it.
Exactly. Like it's up to those providers to provide that information, and a lot of the information that they provide you is very succinct to what they are going to give you. You know,
I think some of that is
not options, just their options.
Yeah. Well, I think there are so many things that go into that. Like, our healthcare infrastructure is not really built for personalized service. It's more of a get in, get
standardized
out,
care.
Yes, which is beneficial to some degree. It's so that way everybody can kind of have some access to healthcare. Although the reality is a lot of people still don't have access to healthcare, which is a whole
another conversation.
Related, but no, a different conversation. But I'm starting to think back in the day, you'd have a neighborhood doctor or whatever. But
if you have a labor, you'd have a midwife come to your house and you deliver in your own bed. Back in the day.
And now
you're sick, the doctor would come to your house.
Yeah,
the doctor would come to your house or whatever to help you if you were sick. You didn't go to them usually.
Yeah, but you were saying, even during a pandemic, now having your baby at home, it was still kind of a little, you chose to do that? You did that on purpose? It wasn't, oops, no, we planned this.
Well, offense, but I remember when I was pregnant and I heard that you were doing it at home, I was just oh my gosh, I could never do that. That would just freak me out, and I just couldn't wrap my head around why, but I had never been through a pregnancy before, so now after having been through this pregnancy, and after having seen why you chose the route that you chose, number one, I liked the fact that you chose it in line with your core beliefs and your values, when you did your blessing way.
Yeah.
Like, I was so on board with your blessing way. Like, I literally just got chills just talking about it. Like, I wanted to get my bead blessed for you.
Yeah.
I wanted to have, like, my best intentions brought there. Like, I just was so excited that that was the thing going on. Like, I loved your crown. I loved your dress. I just loved that whole thing. Like
the whole vibe.
Yeah. Like,
and that's what I wanted my whole pregnancy to be, was more of, like, a celebration experience and not just like a medical experience that I had.
Yes.
Like,
I can appreciate that now, because it is like a woman coming into a goddess of her own, having a birth. You know what I mean?
Especially
so it's
when
kind
a woman,
of a celebration. No, you're good.
Especially when a woman has like her first kid. Like, this was my second one, so it would have been more optimal to. I wasn't really into, I don't know, my spirituality in any sort of way when I had Dylan.
Right.
So I did it with my second one. But, like, when you have your first kid and you're becoming a mom for the first time, like, that's really something to celebrate. And I think, especially in our modern society, we just kind of overpass that and we celebrate the baby and the new life, but not the woman and the mother that's, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, and they talk about how
there's like the mother, the maid, and the crown.
Yes, that's what I was just talking. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So there's like the 3 cycles in your life. So I think it's a whole, once you transition from one to the other, it's kind of,
it's something to be celebrated. Yeah, no, I totally got. And honestly, that's one other thing that I've learned too, is like, when we as girls get our periods, it's like we're not celebrated. We're, you know, like you said, it's more of like just a medical thing that's happening to you. You know, it's not a cycle in your life that you are coming into as a person that you are celebrated to have happen. I distinctly remember one time in middle school when I was on my period and I was in class and I asked my teacher to go to the bathroom because I needed to, you know, do my woman cleanup stuff, and he told me no. And I was like, no, I need to go to the bathroom. And he still told me to go sit down. I was like, you know what, dude, fuck you. And I went, grabbed my stuff, and I left his class. I'm like, I'm not going to let you let me know.
Yeah, like, you're not going to tell a woman that she can't go to the bathroom. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, good for you.
Well, and those are the teachers, too, that would probably get the attitude that, like, why do you always need to leave class? I don't always need to leave class, but, like, you know, at least once a month I have this thing called my period.
Do you really want me to go take a seat back in your desk right now? Like,
you're going to have to call the custodian afterwards. You're going to remember me forever.
But yeah, it's often like a thing of shame, or like an unspoken, like, we don't speak of that. And
yeah.
My 6th grade teacher, she had like a little like bag that like was kind of hidden that only the girls knew about. It was like during health day or something when the boys and girls were separated, that she was like, if you girls ever need any of this stuff, this is where it is in the classroom, and you can just discreetly go over and like, she kept like pretzels or buy it. So like you could like go get a pretzel and get a pad or whatever, you know. And
I mean, it's nice that those teachers look out for girls like that, but it is still kind of sad that it is still hush hush, like, you know. And and it was like, when you're going through those weird body changes, you don't necessarily want to like broadcast it, so you do want to keep it kind of like whatever, because it is a private thing. But at the same time, like, the way that they present it is almost like it's a shameful thing as well, and that's something that
should be a neutral thing. It's just a bodily function that we got to do.
It kind of reminds me of how, like, in a lot of ways throughout society, we sort of demonize or downplay or like attribute like negative qualities to women and their bodies, and particularly their genitals. Like, you know, like,
well, that was one reason why women were supposed to stay at home, because if they were out in the workplace and they had to do all of those things, then they wouldn't be productive, right? Wasn't that one of the mentalities back in the day? Not like the main one, but it was a part of it.
She was supposed to stay home and take care of the children, and she was like, you know, responsible for the home, and, you know, so there's like a lot of like qualities that, you know, such as gentleness or like whatever, which applied to a man would signal like a weak man.
Yes.
But then it attributes that as a weak quality, which it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just it has its strengths and weaknesses in like various situations.
Well, I don't know why this is stirring this in me, but like, so 2 things is, the first thing was a poem that I read. It was about like, a mother, and she, you know, bears her baby, and she's breastfeeding the baby, and she brings the baby up, and she, you know, raises him to be a young man. And then like, she's obviously becoming older and older. And then like, somehow during the poem, it like, I'm gonna get emotional. Hold on.
There's this
Apes,
ape.
these apes. But it basically was getting at the fact that, like, you know, sometimes once the mothers are older.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not gonna talk about that poem. I'm not gonna talk about it.
I want to hear it, though.
Long story short, the poem was basically getting at the fact that, like, sometimes societies, they once the elderly people become older.
For the record, I love your compassion. I make fun of you a little bit because you cry a lot because you always point it out. But, like,
I do.
For the record, I love this part of you.
Well, because I don't always. I see it as a weakness.
It's not always a weakness, though. It's funny
I
because
just
it's
get
just
so
like
emotional so quickly.
Yeah, but then you want to skip over it, and we're all like, but no, we want to hear what you're so passionate about. Like,
Yes.
So I'll have to find the poem and, like, upload it so you guys. I say these things.
The things we
I'll
say.
have to find it for at least you guys and try to bring it. But basically, what it got at was the fact that, like, this mother who went through all these things to bring up this young man, and now this young man is viewed as this, like, person in society that's of value, but now they're almost just throwing the elderly away, like, as if they were nothing. Yeah, when they were the core of what they are, you know? So, anyways, it was just, I'm trying to remember what it was called, but I'll try to find it and, bring it over. But it was reminding me of that, but it was also reminding me of, oh god, I can't remember the second part. It was something with that sad guru guy that I was watching for a while. Oh god. What was it that we were talking about previous to this?
How women, like, weakness is sort of, like, seen as this negative thing if it's in a man versus, like...
Yeah, so what his point was he was like, you know, people sometimes discredit the mothers so much, but really, if it wasn't for the mothers that were bringing up their sons and their daughters in these households, that, you know, he's like, I could imagine my life without my father very easily, but I could not imagine my life without my mother. And so it's one of those things that, like, a mother's love really does make a huge difference at the end of the day. Like you said, you're their advocate. You're their person that goes to bat for them. You know them. Like, it's just one of those things that... Yeah. Sorry.
But so much of that process, too, has sort of shifted, like, the birthing process, which is kind of what got us into that conversation. Sorry. Well, even from, like, these are kind of, like, feminist views or whatever, obviously. But the whole... you know, that negative quality is sort of attributed to sort of more feminine qualities. You know, like, a lot of this stuff sort of bleeds out into other realms, right? So this sort of male-dominated idea of what things should be or how they should be seen and, like, whatever. And it usually favors them. So, like, I have a friend who has this whole, like, if she has a baby, she will probably do it at home. Because to her, the medical field is very set up around the conveniences of the doctor, which, you know, have largely often been men. Yes, there are a lot more women now, but it has and continues to be, to a degree, a largely male-dominated field.
Well, like, favoring doctors has been kind of like a thing that, with C-sections in America, especially, now they can plan when their births are going to be, and it's not like we have a mom in labor that who knows when she's going to have her baby. But, you know, so you have to be on call for however knows long and whatever. There's been some studies that have looked at, like, holidays and how there's spikes the days coming up to the holidays and then decreases in the births on the days of the holiday because they plan the births ahead of time to not, so that they can be with their families. I mean, that's the conspiracy theory, so that they can be with their families.
Well, I think a lot of women plan it that way too, so it doesn't disrupt their family plans.
I mean, it might be a conversation between the patient and the doctor sometimes, but sometimes
the doctors push it,
fight
for their
we're not available on that day. We're all booked up, or we're not here. Sorry, you can't plan your C-section on that day because
but it's kind of the same with even just Pitocin. The women that do go into having a natural birth, they want it to happen on their time. They don't want the natural progression of labor to happen. They want to, okay, you're in labor, let's get the baby out. Let's have the doctor here. Let's get this done. You can get into recovery tomorrow, like in 2 hours. Let's do it. And it's not everything.
Fine as long as they're, like, getting the woman's consent to do this, and, like, they're not pushing the woman to do it just because it's convenient to them, which I think is definitely a distinction.
Yes, there's some women that it's all about choice and advocacy from my point of view. That if that's what you're choosing, then that's 100% your choice. That's fine. But when you don't know what your options are and you're told this is the way to do it, when you do have a choice, and that's not the only way to do it,
way rather than a way.
Yeah, when women are tricked into thinking that this is how things have to be, that's where we need more advocacy and more. Hey, you could. This is also a thing that doesn't always happen. There's these outcomes
that happens
too.
In so many areas of healthcare. Like, the reality is, I think we just need like more doctors, and the reality is, unless we like make education and whatnot more affordable and more accessible, and like really fund these educational experiences for us to have doctors and things like that, then we're always going to be perpetually in this state where it's going to be more of a supply versus demand issue rather than just making sure that there are enough doctors to take care of everyone to the degree that they need it.
And that's a really valid point, because like when I was going through my birthing classes, some of these classes that I took, I'm almost 100% positive that these were these nurses on their own time after hours, after work, having these classes for these people. Because I came in at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night sometimes for like a 2 or 3 hour class to go through PowerPoints and slides with these nurses. Mm-hmm. And it was just other couples that were pregnant that would sit in the room with us, and there's probably only like 8 couples, but then she would go on individual basis, and she would like teach how all the different things that you need to know as a parent, like going
specialized
into it.
job.
Not all of the things. Yeah.
Kind of like how Mom was like a union rep for like a while. Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's like one of those things that it takes place of their duties for like a few months or a week, or like one day a week or something.
This chick and this other chick that I knew, they were actually recommended to me from my gyno, and they worked with the hospital. So yeah, they probably did have some programs that were outside of their, I think they did it both on their personal and on their scheduled time, because they were just passionate about that field. Mm-hmm. They were passionate about the field that they were in, and the moms that they were working with, and the kids that they were working with. So I don't know 100% if they weren't paid for, I mean, those things that they were probably paid for, yes, but like, I don't know. One of the things I think would be a very powerful tool is in those hospitals is if they did provide like a class on options, because like as one of the things as like a class. So
you're pregnant. What next?
Yeah. How are you getting it out? Question mark.
These are all the different things that people have done. Yeah. What's the best choice for you in your journey? Mm-hmm. Like, because I feel like you're saying there's so many different options that aren't even presented to the pregnant people, and there are things presented to the pregnant people, but
it probably
only
depends
what they
on where
want
you
to present
go. Too, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, it's probably inconsistent.
They should make it more universal for people
it depends on your
access to that
insurance, your what your access limitations are, and
it would be awesome if society would kind of come around to opening up those types of things, like either educating the people more about their options, and then also allowing those options to be covered under insurance programs if they opt to do those things.
But another thing that a lot of times is unnecessary that a lot of doctors will do are cervical checks. Which with Dylan, I had all my checks, got everything because, I followed suit and went to the doctor and did what they said. But then with Levi, I didn't have a single cervical check the entire pregnancy. And I just kind of, you don't check yourself when you're not pregnant to make sure your vagina's doing what it should be. And so I could see if there's a concern. Yes, there are certain times where you need a cervical check. You need to get checked and see if everything's anatomically and,
going on right.
Correct in there. But for the most part, when you're pregnant,
leave that alone.
You're already pregnant. Your body's already doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's already, and if you're in labor and you're checking for dilation, a lot of times dilation is tricky because it can hold for so long in one spot and not get any bigger, but your contractions can get closer together. So you're still progressing. You're just not.
So the dilation check is inevitably like
it can actually
100%.
Retract it and also introduce
bacteria.
Like microbes up and bacteria into the vagina that the baby's now going to be exposed to if your water's already broke.
So I had no idea what a cervical check was at first. And so there was my very last appointment. She asked me, do you want me to do a cervical check? Because I was at that point, like, I think like a couple weeks out of, needing to get ready to have her.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's okay. I don't feel it's necessary. I didn't feel any like sort of way that it was coming or anything.
A concern.
Yeah. So I told her no, and I'm so glad I did, because the day of, when I got to the hospital and I went upstairs, they said, we're going to have to do a cervical check because we got to see how far along dilated you are. this woman, oh my God, like she looks like this gentle little, like petite.
They
sweet.
always do, and then they strap on their gloves and.
Yup, and woo, ladies. She went hard, man. I don't know, but
I remember with Dylan because I was in labor for so long, and I also know that there was a student doctor that was on my case, or I don't know if that's what you call it when it's a pregnant woman. Is it a case? Is it I watch House too much. Yeah, I was their patient, and I had a student doctor that was training, so I feel like they just, every time they came in the room, they're like, it's time for a cervical check, and me not knowing that I can be like, no thank you, just let them do it every single time.
Yeah.
That could be why I was in labor for 85 hours. I don't know. Maybe that had something to do with it.
Gosh.
oh my God. Well, and plus that's just a very uncomfortable thing too. So I'm sure that like you're internally probably contracting.
Well, yeah, that's
Like,
like it can stunt labor because you're like,
Your
it's
whole
kind of
body tenses
resistant to
up.
that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
relax while I stick my wrist up in you. Okay.
I can't do that, but thanks. Oh man. But no, honestly, that is one thing also that I noticed during the whole pregnancy thing is that people would start to flock to me and give me advice.
Mm-hmm.
They will give you all the
Advice and want to touch you.
and want to touch your belly, yeah. Like, oh man. Well, I didn't get too much of that. There was a few here and there, but there were more or less people that I was comfortable with already that would have felt that way. I didn't get like strangers approaching me trying to touch my belly and
Oh,
shit.
see,
luckily. Oh, dang, you did.
I would be at work and people would just be like, oh, how far along are you? And come put their hand on me. Like, not even ask sometimes. Just like, oh, look, a baby.
Like personal
touch
space,
that.
bro.
You don't know me or this baby. What do you...
I will kick your ass.
Get away from me, thank you.
Oh, man. But no, like, there's a part of me that obviously appreciated the advice from other people because, you know, when you're new to it, you don't know what to expect, and so other people will
You just don't
try to let
appreciate
you
all
know.
of it.
Yeah, well, because some people will
Yeah.
tell you, like, trauma stories that have happened to them, and it's like, you don't want to feed that type of negativity into the person's, I mean, and if I seek it out, you know, like, that's one thing. If I'm asking you, like, oh, God, that happened, like, tell me more, you know? But then, like, there's some people that would just come up and just straight up tell you some bad stuff that happened to them, and it's just like, I didn't need to
Like,
know
stop
that.
geeking
Thanks.
me out, man.
Yeah,
No, I
like-
got that in my mind that could be a problem. Thanks. Like,
I was pregnant once back in Nam.
yeah,
and-
like,
Oh man.
we had to walk up
honestly,
school both ways.
The
Up
best
school.
piece.
Bill.
We had to walk.
You know how the story goes. You were there.
Yeah, that's right. We heard all of them.
Oh,
We
God.
get to tell those stories to our kids one day. Back on my day.
Oh gosh.
But no, the one piece of advice I'd have to say that I was given that was actually really, I think, the best was from a girl named Kelly. And she told me, she was like, you know, everybody's going to give you so much advice, but my advice to you is to just not take any of that advice and to make this experience what you want it to be and make it for yourself. And honestly, that was the best advice that I was given. So if anybody else is, you know,
Is interested in the advice you're gonna get.
Yeah, don't listen to my advice of not listening to advice.
Only this advice. Listen to this advice about not listening to the other advice.
Yeah, right. Like, so hypocritical of me. But I'm going to say it.
But I do get that because, like, a lot of times you hear other people's, like, good intentions for you and you kind of get excited about that, too. And, like, you want to fulfill their excitements, but sometimes you get lost in what you're actually excited about because other people are rooting for this thing and that's exciting, but is that really what you want to go for? Is that the
And that
thing you're
time,
doing?
and that
Yeah.
time is just so precious. It's only 9 months, 10 months, you know? So it's like you got to really hone in and listen to yourself and really, you know, tune into you and listen to what you want because otherwise, yeah, it comes and goes so fast. So, oh, another thing that I would definitely recommend to people that are pregnant is take video of your belly when your baby is moving and it's dancing in your belly. Remember your belly dance? I fucking love that video. Oh my god.
He was
So
like,
basically,
going
you're
in
like,
circles.
take these videos because I
Yes.
want to see them.
Yes,
Put them on the-
share them with me. But no, honestly, what it is, there's one day I was down at the gas station, which I never worked down at a gas station, but there was one day I was down there because I had to cover for somebody that called in. And I was just sitting there on my break, and I looked down, and I seen her just moving and moving. I took video of it. And that's the only video that I got of her dancing and moving in my belly. But she used to do it a lot. And I kind of wish I would have taken more videos of that, because that is just so cool to see. And just to go back and remember, like, that feeling. And so, yeah, that's another recommendation that I have for pregnant women. And to also, I mean, this is just me, because I'm, like, a foofy girl. But I really love looking at, like, professionally taken pregnancy photos of, like, women when they're in their pregnant goddess essence and they're just flowing through the wind in their hair, and, like, take those pictures, ladies.
I wish I got a better camera, because I got the dress and the crown, and I went and I got my belly henna, but my camera quality was shit.
Whatever. They're still wonderful, beautiful pictures.
They were actually really quite good, I think.
But yeah, I do kind of wish I would have taken more of those, like, kind of, you know, foofy pregnant pictures.
I need to do my, like, 1-year breastfeeding photos soon. That's something I want to, like, celebrate and commemorate.
Yes. I was so disappointed. Like, there was a part of me that understands, yes, it doesn't always pan out the way that you want, but I only lasted for 5 months. I wanted to go for the full year at least.
But you also had to go back to work, and you were taking on Mel at the time, so I feel like you had a lot the
honest to God part that I think took away from it the most was that first week that I was on bed rest, because there were times when I would, like, hunch over and I'd be, like, leaking, dripping, you know, but I couldn't take advantage of that because I had to literally lay down flat to feel comfortable. So it was like any time, and then when I was leaning one way or the other for her to actually feed on me, it was just, you know, going directly to her, so I couldn't pump for extra at that point. I should have taken advantage of the pumping extra in the beginning when I had the supply, because it wasn't very long after that, because I'm pretty sure I heard that your body only will supply what it feels it needs. So if you're not feeding your baby, or you're not
supply and demand.
So my body stopped supplying it because it wasn't, you know, I wasn't demanding that much of it. So I wish I would have demanded a little bit more of it while I had the supply going, to keep it going for longer. And then I probably would have been better off for the longer time frame. But I didn't know that going into it. So that's another thing that I kind of wish I would have known going into the whole thing. Because I wanted to be a full-time 1 year breastfeeding mom at least.
Yeah.
And that was a goal of mine. And I knew it wasn't going to be super realistic to achieve it, and, like, I shouldn't say that. I did not have the expectation that if I wasn't able to achieve that I was just, like, a failure, but at the same time I did have that goal in my mind. But I think that if I had that other research done ahead of time, and I would have, like, been more adamant about being more gung-ho about it, and I admit it's a lot of work, breastfeeding. I mean, you gotta, not only the pain of it at times, of the internal bringing in of the milk, that's a weird feeling when your milk comes in.
Well, my like, milk ducts or whatever they are, like, the paths that bring the milk out, I feel like they were really slow of opening, because, like, the first 5 months that I was nursing him, like, I would get clogs almost weekly that almost turned into mastitis, however you pronounce words. And but, like, I would get clogs all the time. I thankfully don't get that many anymore, but, like, I would, and you could feel the milk, like,
clogging,
like, almost like it's like a over, like, something swollen and just keeps filling up with more stuff, and it just needs to drain, but sometimes it can't, and
yes, it's a strange feeling, and
you
I didn't
pretty much be
that bad.
ready to pump whenever it comes on, pretty much, don't you?
Well, and that was the hard part about being at work, because, like, the people around you just don't get it. And basically I felt really awkward every time I would go into the lactation room, because number one, they know what you're doing in there, so you just kind of feel like, okay, everybody knows I'm about to go in here and, like, whip out my boobies and pump out my milk. And then there's people in the office next door to you, like, talking at the top of their lungs, like, so you can hear these conversations about whatever.
Like, shut up, like, assholes. I'm trying to
make my milk come in.
Like, trying to concentrate here, and you're on a time limit, which they tell you you're not on the time limit, but you have to go and punch out, and then you go in there, and then you have to take everything out, you have to set yourself up, and then you have to wait for your milk to really come in, because it takes a few seconds, it takes like a minute or two for it to actually start flowing. And then after that, you have to do your thing or whatever. And sometimes you can't predict how much is in there or not.
Right.
And some women I know are like big, like they can pump for days, like they can pump a lot of fucking milk, man. And anyways, I wasn't ever like that, luckily. So I mean, not luckily.
Overproducing.
I wish I was like that.
Well,
but
that I would feel like that would hurt all the time being an overproducer, because then you're just engorged a lot all the time.
like a literal cow just producing milk all the time for people. But anyways, no, that was the only thing that also kind of sucked was when I returned to work and I had to pump at work. It was very awkward. It was very time constrictive, and I think that also did not lead to a good supply-demand thing with my body, because I think I was just so paranoid about trying to get back to work so I could do my job, so everybody wasn't like mad at me for being in there for pumping for too long.
Yeah.
You had to clock out to go do that, though?
Well, they said that you were compensated. Like, so we get paid for a 15-minute break. We had to punch out for a half-hour lunch, and then we get paid for another 15-minute break. So we were allowed to take our 15-minute breaks that were paid as our lactation breaks, and if they went over the 15 minutes, we just had to let our boss know. But again, I knew how inconvenient it was for my boss to have to go in there and adjust my time. So I would just try to either not punch out, or I would just try to punch out and then really quickly hurry up my stuff and then keep it within 20 minutes. So that way I didn't get, docked on, or she didn't have to adjust my stuff.
I thought pumping was protected, that they had to pay you. It was paid.
It is, but
time.
when I went and asked them how to go about doing it, that's how they told me I had to go about doing it. They were like, yeah, just go and punch out for your paid 15-minute break, which it's paid, so that's why it's protected and it's paid. But then if I went over my 15-minute break, in the system that they had at the time...
But that's what I'm saying.
It would...
Your breaks and your lactation breaks are not this... I don't think they're the same thing.
That's what I thought. I was pretty sure.
That's what I'm trying to say. I think you get your breaks still.
Yeah. See, I tried to tell them that, and they tried acting like I was.
No, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to still be getting your actual breaks.
Right,
Those are your breaks, and then you get lactation breaks for lactation.
Thank you.
It's not really a break for you.
Like, you can't go eat your sandwich and hook up your titties and sanitize your space all at the same time.
That is fucked up, because that whole time that I was pumping at work, I was taking my own personal 15-minute breaks to do that, and I was rushing through them, not taking my own 15-minute breaks. Well, I mean, no offense, but they were not very open about the way that process works, because they basically... And
companies are terrible.
I fear that the other ladies at my job are also doing this.
That's why we need unions to...
Like, they should get 2 15-minute paid breaks for their own personal time, plus their lunch, plus their lactation breaks, 2 of them a day.
Labor rights.
But, then they would get no work done, so what was the point of them coming in that day? Just to get paid to pump their boobs? That's what they would look at it as. Like, honestly. But it's like, dude, that's like providing...
You're creating their future generation of workers while also giving them your time at the same fucking time. They ought to be grateful.
Right. Like, literally. But they don't look at it like that. Like, ugh. Anyways. Wow.
On to a more positive note, my next topic I was going to bring up was I wish I would have known about eating my placenta when I had Dylan.
I honestly would have probably... I don't know. I did kind of know about it, and I was still scared.
Well, so when I went in with Dylan, I thought that I could just be like, yeah, I'm going to take my placenta home. And like I already looked up how to get it encapsulated, so I was going to contact the person after we left the hospital and get it done, Well, like, I already contacted her about it.
Yeah.
But I didn't, let the hospital know that, hey, I want to bring my placenta home. I let them know, when I was getting birth.
You have to fill out, by the way, for you to keep your organ.
Yeah, you have to prearrange your organ to come home with you.
Well,
you're just going to rip that out of my body and take it? No, I made that. Thank you. I want to go home and have a steak.
It belongs to me.
Well, honestly, what's kind of messed up about that, too, is that if you think about it, like, aren't there very vital stem cells that are... Is it in the placenta, or is it in the embryo?
The cord is where the stem cells usually are. Most of but I had my...
the embryo.
I had my cord... From Levi, I did get my placenta encapsulated. So I took it to a doula. Well, first I birthed it into our spaghetti pot. And then I kept it, we rinsed it off, and we dropped it off at a doula. And she dehydrated it and pulverized it and put it in capsules for me. And she said that I had a really large placenta because she made like 130 or something capsules for me out of mine. And...
now, isn't that supposed to bring your hormones back into balance more quickly, right? Because a lot of, like, postpartum stuff hormonally in a woman is, like...
Well, it's supposed to keep them kind of more stabilized, so they hold kind of part of the hormones from when you were pregnant. And so if you keep taking those after you've had the baby, then it kind of elevates them and helps you come down steadier than if you were just like, okay, you're not pregnant now, and now you're going to go back to normal all on your own. But they also help with for me, I noticed they helped me with my mood. They helped me with lactating, and so...
Nice. I bet that actually would make a huge difference with the hormones and the lactation and stuff. So.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different benefits. So if you're curious about that, I would definitely look further into that, or maybe I can post some stuff about eating your placenta.
Benefits of. Another thing that was a piece of advice given to me was breathing techniques to get into. And at the time, I honestly did not do it. I now wish I kind of would have, though, because I feel like if I would have been able to tap into a specific breathing mechanism that I was so used to during my pregnancy, that I was calm with and I was used to, and I could almost find like a meditative state that I could have returned to in that painful moment of giving birth, that I would have been, hey, you know what? This is the moment. You've been, practicing for this. This is it. Breathe the way you know to breathe and do what you need to do, then I probably wouldn't have needed the epidural, because at the time when I was in that moment, I did opt for that epidural, and that thing I feel unfortunately did fuck me up, and I do have a little bit of regrets on that. So a lot of the advice that I was given during the time that I was pregnant was, just get the epidural. Just don't listen to people. It's fine. They're going to judge you and say, if people are going to say whatever they're going to say and whatever. But if you feel like you need to get the epidural, go ahead and get that epidural. So in my mind, I was thinking in that moment, I'm like, you know what? They did say that if I did feel this way, not to get so judgy on myself. I was like, you know what? So I'm going to get that epidural. So I did it. And I mean, this is only my experience. It's not everyone's. But unfortunately, when I was given my epidural, it just did not go smoothly. And unfortunately, I had the puncture and it was leaking spinal fluid. And then I had, my brain wasn't sitting correctly on my spine. And it gave me these huge headaches and had to get the spinal tap. It was miserable.
I remember when I went over there and, when you first got home, I felt so bad for you. It was you could just tell you were your head was terrible and
I couldn't even sit up. It
was bad.
Yeah. And then you're sitting there with this baby.
And you're trying to, take care of a child who's pooping all over the place and wants to eat all the time. And,
it was not very good. But that's the one thing that I wish I would have been better, more adamant about practicing was the breathing. Because then, like I said, I think that the epidural probably wouldn't have been as adamant in my mind as an option. I probably would have just been like, no, this breathing is going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think, that's one thing with being a mom in general is that a lot of people will give you advice based on their opinion, but there's so many people that leave out the facts, in the doctors and other moms telling their own stories. Just they'll give you the experience that they think you should have, but not tell you why you should choose this over that, or what's going to what the outcomes of this and that are, or
right. Well, honestly, I can say now that I would have much rather had the breathing technique work for me, because it's so much more natural. And I know that if I was in that moment that it would have happened. I mean, maybe it would have been a little bit more painful on my side, but I don't know if that maybe would have even resulted in something better for me, I've heard that the pain that a mother experiences during that is also transforming for a person, it's something that I didn't get to feel, it was the once. That's weird. That's really weird. I didn't think that I was going to get emotional about that, but I didn't get to feel that, which is kind of weird, because I wouldn't expect me to want to feel that pain, because I was glad that I didn't have to feel that pain, actually, because I was having a good time. I was laughing. I was joking around with, my family, and I was having a good time. But at the same time, now that I'm, in hindsight reflecting upon it now, I'm kind of if I would have experienced that pain as what it was supposed to be in its fullness, if it would have been different, well, it would have been different, obviously, but I wonder what
experience would have.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what that would have done for me.
So, can I give you an outsider's perspective?
For sure. I'm all about outsider's perspective.
So, I don't want to, downplay, your, that feeling that you just had. But it sounds a little bit masochistic.
It is a little bit, I guess.
But again, I don't want to. In no way mean that in a negative way towards you.
Only in the fact that pain can be transforming. I mean.
It can, but
But go ahead, sorry.
The sacrifice that you made for her as a mother that you could hold over her, if you would have made that pain, then like, I did that for you.
I withdraw that pain for you. Now I just kind of, did it painless. So it's like, no, I'm just kidding.
She doesn't even know that.
Oh, just that it's masochistic.
it sounds a little masochistic. If I could have only endured this massive pain, one of the biggest pains a human can feel.
I guess that is true. I guess that is a little bit, yeah.
I mean, I get the other side of it too. Like, it might be transformative and like whatever. Like, and I totally do not want to like dismiss like people who have that idea about it. That's totally valid.
But I get what you're saying.
But I'm on the other side, and I'm like, I don't want to feel that. I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah, why would you
Thank you. I'm good. Oh man.
But yeah, so definitely, I guess there's different perspectives on different angles.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I always get weird, like, bringing up astral projection, but I feel like that's kind of what I experienced when I had Levi, because, like I said, it was just me and, like, Trevor and my mom in the room, and I went to, like, do my breathing, because I knew that he was going to come, and I just kind of, like, I don't know, I went to my own space in my head, and then I was, like, somewhere else, and then... I don't know. It's weird talking about it because I already know that there's going to be people that don't believe me. So it's like,
we don't even have to.
Now I'm going to get emotional because, like, for me, it was such a real experience. And
dude, have you ever done psychedelics?
So I've tried. Obviously, I smoke pot and I'm a canna mom, but I've tried Molly, and that's it. I haven't tried anything past that.
So when I think I was 16. I had a psychedelic experience, and it's something that transforms your whole, like, you can't explain it to people, and I'm sure that it's
something like you try and find the words, but, like, even the words don't make it sound believable, like, when you try and say them, so it's, like, it's just ridiculous if I even try and put it, like, explain my...
I'm so of, like, two minds of things like this, because on the one hand, I'm like, what the fuck do I know? You know what I mean? Like, maybe you 100% had that. Like, and there's, like, a part of me too that never wants to dismiss the experience of people, because I can't foresee it or like understand it in my own mind doesn't mean that wasn't a very real experience for someone else. But at the same time, I do question like what that experience was and how it happened. Not in a negative way to question whether it happened. But like, is it some dopamine, like whatever in your head making it happen? Is it really a physical other place? Like, I have no idea.
Because I wasn't in much pain with labor in him. Like, everything happened so fast, and we were so chill about it, and we were prepared for every step of the way, and like... And then, I don't know, and then I was just calm, and it was completely different than when I had Dylan. We were not that we were panicky, but we were... we were cooped up in a hospital. We didn't really have control of anything about any of the situation. It was taking a really long time, 100%. And it was uncomfortable. And like this, it was just...
You weren't able to relax to even get into a state of mind.
Yeah,
such as
right. And like, then I just went to like a different state, and like, I don't know, like
was it like a place? Like, I'm
going to try to explain this. I know we're already a little over time, but I'll try to explain this a little. So I like... The only other time that I believe that I've astral projected is during orgasms. And, like, when I'm, like, really trying to feel an orgasm, I'll, like, go into a place where, like, I'm envisioning that I'm having sex with the entire universe. And I'm, like, fucking the universe and all of the energy. And, like, I'm harnessing all of this power.
That is
and,
intense.
Like...
It is. That's how you have to do it.
Like I get in that mindset of, like, I'm my own universe, and, like, all of this is, and, like, all of the energy is coming into me, and, like, that's what I went to that place only, like, the opposite of, like, I was creating this energy. Like, when I was giving birth, I was like, now I am the universe, and all of this life is, like, the energy is in me, and I need to release it, and, like... It's weird. It was just like a place in my mind that like I went there, and like I was thinking about being part of the universe, and then like I felt that I was, and like.
And I totally know what you mean by like it's not a place, Marilyn. It's not like a physical place, but it's like a place that you can bring your mind to. It's like almost like it's realm.
My energy left the body, my body, and the universe's energy went into my body, and like I could feel like
The wholeness
all
of
of
it.
the vibrations and like
all the frequencies. And
yeah.
So like, don't take
Now I
this
sound like a nutcase.
No, I was just thinking like, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm envisioning like every like supervillain like, and I have all the power.
And that's
I'm
when my
sorry.
most squirting orgasms happen. All the power.
Oh man.
But honestly, though, I can relate with my experience in the sense of like when you go to that realm or that place or whatever, you do feel like the universalness of everything at once.
Yeah.
And like
You're, like connected to
the connectedness. Yes, that'd be the word.
Yes.
So, anyways, yeah,
Interesting.
we can get more into this on another episode.
I'm way more
think.
vanilla with my drugs, and I only smoke pot.
Hey, you know what though? Pot, I've heard, is very, very good for your entire, what is it, the cannabinoid system.
Yeah, your whole
So-
system is made of cannabinoids or cannabinoids, cannabinoids.
Let's just research on this, but it's good for your system, all of it. I mean, lots of stuff get healed from
my
it.
gosh.
So
Yes.
Although I guess it's kind of a lie because a lot of times I do add lavender to my mix. So like I smoke weed, but like spicy.
Spicy weed.
spice it up a little bit.
While I'm over here, I brought the bro torch today to do the dabs. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
still weed though.
I honestly don't really smoke lavender. I've only smoked it like once or twice. I always thought it was like oh my gosh, you can't smoke that. But I'm sitting here smoking weed all the time. Like, that's another plant.
We should definitely have a whole episode on that.
Yes, for sure.
I feel like that would be appropriate.
We could go on for days.
Oh, yes. We will talk about all the
Oh
drugs.
man.
To be continued on that one.
Yeah.
So I think, ladies, we have a lot more to say about mom stuff, but I feel like there's like just generally stuff like there's like all these pressures of momhood and things like that we didn't really get into completely that I think would be like a great topic. I mean, we could talk about stuff that we kind of miss about pre-mom life, although I have a feeling that our next episode, which we have planned out, we're going to talk about this a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially since we're talking about your experience as Canna moms. And sort of...
Yes.
So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot that comes out about, like, pre-mom life and, like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
Oh, when we were roaming the streets.
Back when cannabis was illegal.
Oh, man.
Illegal. Jesus Christ.
So I think, ladies, let's kind of leave it here. That just leaves us with shouting out a business.
Shout
or
out.
something.
So I'll give this one because this is actually a podcast that
Oh, yeah, okay.
was in love with for a while. I still love them, but they're on hiatus right now from podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a mom podcast. The title of it is Momgasm, and they talk about like just not just mom stuff, but like still being a woman and a mom and being a sexual person while being a mom and what all of that. How that changes or shouldn't change, or maybe, all of that type of stuff. But they have a really juicy podcast. I like listening to them. They're really fun and sexual at times and other times real serious. So
Is it not appropriate for work?
it's probably not very appropriate for work unless you like talking about juicy wet pussies on your workplace. You might want to not have earphones in. Yeah.
Okay.
But they have a Facebook at facebook.com/momgasm podcast, MOMGASMPODCAST.
Add an @ in front of that, and that looks like that's their Twitter handle as well.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, and they have a on bonfire.com/momgasm. I can speak words. They have a fundraiser up right now. Yeah, where you can buy their t-shirts and support them too.
Sweet.
So
Awesome. Check them out.
I've listened to a few of their episodes, and they are really funny.
So check out Momgasm, and I suppose with that, we should just also remind you to submit your questions for our finale. And with that,
we need Q&A questions.
yeah, it's up on our website. So go there and submit some questions for us.
yes, Coven.
We want to know what you want to know.
Until next time, Coven.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Midwest Coven Cast.
Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
And if you love us, consider leaving us a review.
You can also join our coven by following us on social media.
At Midwest Coven on Twitter and at Midwest Coven Cast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
You can also find us at midwestcovencast.com.
Until next time, Coven, blessed be.